Hey everybody, thank you for joining us on today's FareCompare video podcast. My name is Rick Cini. I'm the co-founder and CEO of FareCompare.com. I want to thank you for watching us, and we're going to talk a little bit in this video podcast about your vacation, using it or losing it. I know we're getting close to the year. I've got a lot of folks that work for us sort of negotiating which days and can they have an extra day here and whatnot, so we'll chat a little bit about that and what that means for airfare. Got some new information on fees and what's happening with fees, especially as we hit the Thanksgiving and Christmas season. Also, you know, one of a nostalgic event with his final U.S. Airways flight, taking a tour of the United States, as American Airlines now is the official airline with U.S. Airways flights going away. And then also we'll take a couple questions from some consumers. So joining me today on the podcast is our editor from the site at FareCompare.com, Ann McDermott. Hey, Ann.
Hey, Rick. I think if you could, we're going to put this in a nutshell. Today's podcast is about how to save money and how to avoid paying fees you may not be aware of. So, you know, everybody stay alert because Rick is about to do good things here.
Yeah, so as the first topic we want to talk about, I think is something that we're going to also do on our ABC column this week is it's your vacation, use it or lose it. So, you know, as far as those things that's concerned on your vacation days, it was pretty amazing when I saw some of the research that you did for the article and about sort of the different countries and what their philosophy on vacation and how in the U.S. how so many of us actually don't take our vacation days.
Well, officially, we don't have any to take. That's officially. There's no government.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, there's no government man. Well, I guess we have some presidential candidate aspirations that want to probably legislate some of that. But yeah, officially, there is no specific days. Now, the government has specific days, holidays, and a variety of things. Most companies have policies around. So true. I think it's sort of a known thing, although it's not mandated by the government, which probably is a good thing in some cases. But I agree with you. Some countries, they do it. In Europe, it's pretty amazing. In fact, I personally don't like to go to Europe in the August time frame because they're all on vacation. I want them to all be there in their shops and whatnot. So I like to visit in September.
Yeah, well, watch out when you visit Brazil. They get 41 government holidays and other vacation days paid. 41.
41. You know, and that's good. That's good to know if you're heading out to a country like Austria that has very many days. I have family in Salzburg, Austria, so I actually know those days probably better than most.
If you want to be really jealous, if you're a U.S. person, come to our site and read our post called Vacation, Use It or Lose It. And you'll be going, what? But here's the funny thing. Okay, as you pointed out, most employers, of course, it's not mandated by the government, but most employers do give you vacation days, paid vacation days, if you're a full-time employee. Okay, and how much of it do we use? Like half. U.S. workers, according to one study we found, and I believe it, use 51% of the vacation they've got coming to them. And 61% of those who do take vacation spend at least part of that time working during their vacation. So I don't know if
that doesn't surprise me at all because phones and tablets make it so easy to check your email and check in and do stuff while you're on vacation. Well, it's very hard to unplug. Yeah, it's very hard to unplug today.
Yeah, and we're living in an era of layoffs. And, you know, a lot of people are affected by this. And I think we all think, okay, if I work harder, you know, they're going to pass me by. Sometimes that works, but at any rate,
and you have a lot of part-time workers too, right? And so those people don't tend to get. And you also have a lot of people that work for themselves and are consultants, and the days that they take, they don't get quote unquote paid for. So,
But let's get into the happy part. You know, like you can take vacations, and you can do it cheaply. Even, you know, and you. If you're not used to this kind of thing, you might want to ease in with like a weekend break, and there's ways to make that cheaper too. There's ways to make it every flight cheaper. But
Yeah,
please.
it's pretty amazing how many good deals are out there. Weekender deals, special days of the week,
Mm.
catching comps. So if you basically follow a few of the things that we write about, you can slide in. Don't worry about those vacations too much. Sometimes we can do Friday, Sundays if you're worried about missing a day of work, but we can get you there inside of 90 minutes on flights, which is about 600 miles. You can do a variety of things. I know, the vast majority of people when they do take vacations actually hop in the car to take them, but there are some chances to go out and visit on flights where you can actually find a pretty good deal.
And sometimes I really think it can be cheaper to fly. Today only,
Right.
today as we speak, it's October 20th. Frontier has $19 one-way deals. And I thought to myself, well, the other way will be really expensive, right? No, I found a surprising number of $38 round-trip deals from Frontier. And you know where you can find those deals? You can find it at FareCompare.com because we've got them.
Yeah, and you're going to get those alerts whenever they occur,
Yeah,
and Spirit has those same kind of deals, and in fact,
they
in
do.
many cases, we see the larger airlines match in some cases. So, there's deals to be had, especially if you just want to get out of town. So, be sure and take that vacation and get out of town. Try air travel. I know a lot of people, here at Fair Compare, we have a giveaway of a trip once every couple months, and we try to get people to make sure that they have their passports all up to date and get them out of town. So hopefully you'll do that with your time as well.
Right, because there are also extremely cheap deals to Europe right now. But
Right.
this leads us. This is a perfect segue, I believe you would call it, into our next topic that we want to discuss, which is which airline is the cheapest. So, Rick, which one?
Which airline is the cheap? I get this question all the time. Hey Rick, what's your favorite airline? And hey Rick, which airline is the cheapest? And to be honest, the answer is A. Which one's the cheapest is any given one on any given day at any given time, it could be the cheapest. And that's the scary thing. And that's why we shop so much for particular airlines. I mean, we do have airlines called ultra low cost airlines, but guess what? If you buy their tickets at the last minute, they're expensive. So, as far as the cheapest airline is concerned, it depends on you. This is the way normal people shop. The first thing they do, they're going to shop on price. And if that price happens to be within their range, they're going to check and see whether or not it's convenient or not. Some of these prices are like ridiculously low, but you may be connecting for about 24 hours. In some cases,
Yes.
it could chew up a huge part of your trip.
Or
And
flying overnight.
are flying overnight. And thirdly, you might have a city like I have where 90% of the traffic that flies out of my city in the Dallas-Fort Worth area is either on American Airlines or Southwest Airlines. So you may only have one or two airline choices where you probably have a loyalty credit card with them or whatnot. So then the question is, which one of those is cheapest? So for me, it's pretty amazing. I get to see millions of airfares a day, and I see them change all the time. And the cheapest airline at any given moment on any given itinerary can change dramatically. In theory, and I know this is why a lot of people shop so much, a price could change every time you make a search request.
And as you pointed out, it all depends. It depends on the day of the week you shop or the
Sure.
hour of the day of the week you shop. It depends on when you would like to fly, what particular days, what times work for you. But even so, I have looked at loads of fares. I just picked out some random routes.
Yeah, pick them
And,
out. And it'll be different airlines every time.
and sometimes Spirit and Frontier are the cheapest, and sometimes they are not. And some of the cheapest ones can be, shock you. I mean, United, American, having the best deals. Yeah, sometimes they do. So,
Hey,
but
you know what? Here's what happens, Ann.
it always changes.
Every Monday, all the marketing people come into their jobs at the airlines and they go,
Okay.
"We want cheaper prices. We want cheaper prices."
Yeah.
And they talk to their bean counters on the other side of the aisle who say, "We want to make more per square inch on a plane. We want to make more per square inch on a plane." And sometimes they win and sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's a new route where they get cheaper flights. Sometimes they're trying to send a message to another airline. These deals happen all the time, and unfortunately for consumers, it's not. We're trying to send you alerts, but if you don't sign up for alerts, we can't send you that information.
Well, in case anybody's wondering right now, I noticed that Dallas, as you know, continues to remain real hot, and Houston is really heating up in terms of cheap flights. I'm seeing
Yeah, we've
all kinds of
seen
deals.
deals to Seattle this year because of a battle brewing between Delta and Alaska Airlines, and we've also seen some battles in the Boston area, in the New York area, even in the Washington D.C. area out at Reagan Airport. We've seen some battles as well. So
Don't you love it when they fight?
hey, you know what? I wish we had more airlines. You now have 4 airlines that control 80% of traffic. So
Mhm.
when at least we can get 4 of them in the ring punching each other out, that's okay with me.
Well, and as you mentioned, very few airlines these days, and we just lost another one. Bye bye, U.S. Airways.
Yeah, I was thinking back, about U.S. Airways, and I get a lot of questions about history because I'm a bit of a history buff, and how far back it goes, and the flight number actually was related to a date in history, and I remember recently back when U.S. Airways really and America West were merged, and America West had the airline code HP, and I always think of Hewlett Packard when I think of U.S. Airways and America West because of their airline code. And then they decided to switch to the U.S. Airways 2-letter airline code US, and now that one's gone, which is, by the way, U.S. Airways, what other brand name could be better than U.S. Airways, to be honest? I guess American Airlines is a pretty good brand name as well. Yeah, so, and having the code AA, you're always guaranteed that you're first in the phone book, right? Because we have AAA BC Plumbing and AAA BC Plumbing.
When is the last time you picked up a phone book? I'd love to know.
It's been a while, but my microphone is sitting on a phone book here. So, but yeah, so I do. I'm nostalgic for some of the older airlines. We've seen 8 of these great airlines now combined down into 4. The first started off with Delta and Northwest Airlines, and United Continental, then Southwest and AirTran, and now American with U.S. Airways. And there's some funny stories. I was on the very first flight out of Phoenix when U.S. Airways actually started to charge for water and Cokes on aircraft.
Yeah. That was a good move.
I remember getting on the gate agent coming on and apologizing to everybody as they got on the plane, saying, when you do get on this plane, this is the first flight where we'll be charging $2 for water and Cokes, and that's our company that did this. And by the way, they rolled that back a few months later. So
I guess they figured everybody else would jump on board, but they didn't.
And I loved U.S. Airways. Had some flights, for example, from Philadelphia into Europe that were really extremely low cost that I've taken several times. So I'm hoping they keep some of that spirit. A lot of the U.S. Airways management is really the top management at American now. So I hope they keep some of the original America West, then through U.S. Airways spirit. But certainly for a lot of the employees and a variety of other folks that are a little longer in the tooth, this was sort of a sad day and an interesting day. And I think they handled it very well.
Well, another sad day was just recently when I happened to stumble on Frontier's website and notice, bag fees are going up for seasonal. Well, it was like for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, for spring break. It was hard to find a place that was, or a time period that was considered just normal for.
Yeah, I certainly hope, Ann, that we don't turn into having $1 tickets and a fee for everything. I think it's very complicated. I think we still want to pay for our airline tickets and get as much as we can from A to B. But in this case, we do see Frontier raising their fees. We did have some good news around that too, which is new big bin space on aircraft that allow up to 6 bags to be put over your head instead of 3. So basically, 50% more space up in the overhead bag. A lot of the airlines are buying that option. That means we won't be having as many spats on aircraft deciding who's going to get which bag where as we get on the plane. So at least with some of the profits the airlines are making, we're seeing them spend some money on some of these clever new ideas.
Well, also on the good news front is JetBlue is outfitting all their planes with additional Wi-Fi, and it's going to be free. Now that's an idea we'd like to see catch on.
Yeah, I've tried Wi-Fi on almost all the different airlines, and I'll have to tell you, unless you just want to get an email every 4 or 5 minutes, there it's not that
Yeah,
good. So they're
yeah.
going to all have to really upgrade their Wi-Fi experience on these aircraft. I know it's probably the #1 complaint for business travelers on these aircraft is how slow the Wi-Fi. Look, I'm not looking to watch, binge watch. 65 different series on Netflix, but it needs to be a slightly bit faster.
Well, I'm sure it will be because it seems to be the one thing business people at least are clamoring for, and
No doubt.
aren't those the customers that all the airlines want to cater to?
Sure, they covet them. They're changing their loyalty programs to be more spin based instead of mile based. So certainly it's the business traveler that's out there. And I promise you, airlines, I will not binge watch 7 seasons of Breaking Bad if you just make the internet connection faster. So I promise you it'll just be faster email, hopefully, and maybe a Skype conversation, chat only. I won't be talking on the headsets.
All right, we'll hold you to that.
All right.
We have some questions from FareCompare customers for you. And the first one is from Annette in Jerusalem. She says, I don't travel very often, but I need to go to LA to see family.
Right.
I have a 2-year-old and I've never traveled with him before. Can you help me understand how to get good prices on travel anytime in January and tips for traveling with a family of 3? Well, go for
it. Sure, yeah. Well, first of all, traveling from Jerusalem is a little bit interesting, right? You have El Al there, but you also have other airlines that service that particular market. There is a little bit of difference between the U.S. market when you have children that are, quote unquote, below 2 years can be lap seat. It sounds like this one's actually a little bit older than 2 years, so they can't be a lap infant. So, but you also, when you go to shop, many of the shopping engines, including ours today, just gives you one box. It's very simple to have adults. So unless you actually click on the advanced options, where you can actually put in, how many children and what their ages are, because many times these airlines, especially flying in from Europe or flying in from Israel, are going to have special discounts for children between 2 and 11, for example. So you want to make sure you put those in there when you do your shopping requests. Now, a couple things that I would note too. It sounds like you have a family of 3, so you have 1 child and maybe 2 adults. I would shop for 1 person first, see what the ticket price is, then shop for 3 and see if there's any seats that are at a cheaper price. You might be able to split your purchase. There's a sort of a quirk of reservation systems, which is that everybody has to be at the same price on the same what's called P&R, or passenger record. So on the same reservation, for lack of a technical term. So shop for 1 first, then shop for 3, see if there's a little difference, and be sure and put that family member. Now, as far as shopping in January is concerned, you have to stay at least a Saturday night, and if you're traveling from Israel, probably you're staying longer than a week, so this is not a problem. Saturday night stays tend to be or have special fares that are cheaper. Also, you want to try to stay under 30 days. So many of the cheapest fares also have what they call as a maximum stay rule, which is a 30-day maximum stay rule. In many cases, too, you can actually use a travel agent to help you. This is one of the cases where shopping online can also you could also get a travel agent involved, because many of them have discounts for these longer trips, especially if you have a family of 2 or 3. So those are a couple options you have. Get a price online. If you feel like the price is out of your range, try a travel agent. They may have what they call consolidator rates, where they may have some discounts as well.
And once you're in LA, public transportation has much improved, but it's still a car culture area. So you might want to rent a car, or if you're staying with family members, see if they can.
And don't forget, and don't forget Lyft and Uber and some of these other car services. And many of them are great. Sort of a difference between cabs and also actually renting a car, depending on how much time you're going to be spending in the area. So a lot of good good tips and advice. We do have a section on traveling on our website in that particular area, and we'll make sure you get some good tickets. I would absolutely sign up for tickets from Tel Aviv, for example, to LA on our alert system, because that'll tell you when prices drop.
And that's right on the home page. It takes literally about 3 or 4 seconds to do it. You just put in your email address and you have set your alerts. We have another question. David from Brisbane has said, "Why is it so hard to find flights to Havana, Cuba? I would be coming from Miami, and I need to figure out how to get to Cuba." Boy, you clearly have not read the FareCompare travel guide.
Yeah, this is a topic I've been sort of on for about 5 years. I predicted almost, half a decade ago that we would be having flights into Cuba. Now, there's been relaxation of rules. We do have now, diplomatic relations with Cuba, but there still are a variety of rules. Now, these rules have been relaxed a lot. Used to be you had to be with a group that was doing some sort of cultural or educational thing or some sort of charity-related thing, and now if you come to our site, there's a couple articles that'll show you exactly how to do that. Now, I remember the airlines are going to start. They have flights there. In fact, I was just in Miami Airport a couple weeks ago. I saw flights to Cuba, but you have to have special documentation for this now. I would expect within 18 months or so, you'll be able to find Havana, Cuba almost on every one of the airlines' websites as they start to relax these rules. But at the moment, it's difficult for airlines to do that. And by the way, I don't think Cuba's quite ready to absorb several million passengers a year from the U.S. So it's going to take some time for their infrastructure to actually absorb that many people coming in from the United States.
Well, and I think one of the main problems why David may not be finding these flights is he may be looking in the wrong place, because while some U.S. airlines, particularly JetBlue comes to mind, do have flights to Cuba, they don't fly there under their name. They work through charter companies. We have in our Cuba travel guide, we've got a list of some of the best-known charter companies that have been flying to Cuba for some time now, and check it out. And it even tells you what cities they fly from and to in Cuba. It's not just Havana, but of course that's the most popular destination. But
yeah, I'm an old movie buff, and I remember a lot of the movies where the grand old Havana, Cuba, and all the sort of the Las Vegas of the Caribbean back gosh, almost more than half a century ago. But it's on my bucket list to do, is to visit Cuba. I just don't think I'm going to do it anytime in the near future until they can straighten out all the different ways that it's happening. But we'll have to see what happens in the presidential election, because at the moment it's on the fast track to making this happen. We just don't know what will happen in the presidential election when it comes to Cuba, because it is a pretty big battle between some different groups there. But at the moment, you can get to Cuba. It's much easier to get there. Just follow some of the advice in our articles, and yes, the charter companies are the way to go with the special documentation.
And if anybody else would like to send us a question for Rick to answer, you can email us at customer.service@faircompare.com. That's customer.service@faircompare.com.
Yes, and by the way, we look at every one of those emails, and everybody will get a response, and hopefully a couple of them will make them onto our video podcast.
And of course, you can go to our site at any time to see more information. We only have about 4,562,000 articles that are loaded with money-saving tips and advice. All originating from the brain of the man I am speaking with, Rick Cini.
Hey, look, this is what I do all day long is airfare. I study airfare. It's been my love and passion for over 10 years. You can catch our video podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud. Hey, and one of the things I want everybody to do is be sure and download our new app, the FareCompare of Interest app on both iTunes and the Google Play Store. I've been playing with it actually this morning. First version out there, new version coming that'll have alerts and a variety of things. So just go to faircompare.com/app, faircompare.com/app, and we'll take you on a link directly to the App Store.
Even if you don't want to go anywhere right at this moment, get the app and look at it
Take a
It's
quick
great.
look. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It has so many different events that are on my bucket list. Now that the second version of the app, I wish people could see it, where we can save these bucket list events and a variety of things. Mashing up both airfare and events is one of the coolest ideas that we've seen out there, and it's a very beautiful experience flipping through the images and learning about new and interesting destinations and events around the world.
And I know we're about done because my little earphone thingy has just fallen out again. So anyway, thank you, Rick.
Hey, thanks, Annie.